What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. Now, if you know my intentions, you'll know why I uploaded this. But if you don't, well, I'm getting ready to prepare Cena's third title reign video. That video in itself, by my count, would be well over an hour. It'll be a big mountain to climb, but it will be worth it once the video goes live. That's why I haven't made it yet. I want to take my time on it in order for it to be perfect. And I'll try something like this with Undertaker's streak. We'll look at WrestleMania 7 to WrestleMania 12, then WrestleMania 13. You know how it goes. I'll do that for the Undertaker streak. Ric Flair's title reigns. That one's going to be the hardest, definitely. So with that said, John Cena's second title reign was pretty notable due to the fact that he became an even bigger star due to the feud with Triple H. He went through hell at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Luckily, he came back in one piece. This title reign is very memorable due to the fact that the fans really hated Cena during this time period. Not everyone, obviously. I mean, it was a mixed reaction, but it was loud and clear. Like, I was just looking at some old forum posts. The amount of stuff they said about Cena, they hated his guts. They hated him. They despised him. They despised everything that he stood for. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, if you haven't watched either of these and are interested, here they are. They give a backstory as to what John Cena was doing previously. And for context, once again, Cena slowly began ditching the rapper character in favor of more of a superhero type. Problem with this is the fans didn't like it. They slowly took away the things fans liked about Cena, and that's why he was hated. As for me, probably the biggest Cena fan at this point. It was my favorite by a country mile. Whoever came second was so far down below. Like, it's John Cena's up here, Batista's down below. That's how it was. So now let's start off right where we left off on that Edge video. Royal Rumble. Now that Cena's reclaimed his gold, Edge immediately came knocking on his door for a rematch. The Rated R Superstar status quo took a bit of a hit at this point, as many believe that he was just a transitional champion. He refused to be called that, and he seemed like a raging lunatic, as you could see here. As for how the match went, well, first of all, it ended with the most random finish, but it fits Edge's character if you think about it. During the match, the Rated R Superstar tried cheating to get the victory, and once Cena had momentum on his side, Lita realized something. She realized that if Edge wins by DQ, then he gets a second rematch by default. So she tried handing him the title, but once Cena hoisted Edge on his shoulders, she made a judgment call and blasted her boyfriend with the title, resulting in a disqualification victory for him. It was a confusing ending to the commentary team, but if you know Edge and Lita's mindset, it made sense. The following week, Mr. McMahon made the rematch, but it will feature a special referee, and that special referee will be of Cena or Edge's choosing. Edge once again tried pimping out his girlfriend for the 100th time in order to get a slight advantage in the title match. See, this is what gets me about Edge. The fact that he'd sell out his girl in order to get a small advantage for his title match. It wasn't even the fact that he's gonna win the title outright if he gives his girl out, if he pimps her out. It's just to get that one, even if it was 0.1%, he would do it. Vince admired Edge for showing he would do anything to get an advantage, so he booked Edge and Lita against John Cena and Maria. Meanwhile, Maria was nervous about that match. She already got beaten up by Lita earlier on, and she didn't want to go through it again. So Cena decided, you know what, let's silence her, and he kissed her. Later that night, the mixed tag match went on as planned. Lita accidentally went for a hurricanrana during the match on her boy. She then realized Cena's the legal person, and so she tried getting out of the sticky situation by flashing, but before she knew it, she was on the receiving end of a spear. Maria tagged herself in, and they won the match. Immediately afterwards, Cena announced a special guest referee. It was the GOAT special referee, Mick Foley. Edge was about to blow up. Mick came out casually, and it seemed like the cards were in John Cena's favor. As for how that match went, Mick Foley was an impartial official, but Edge didn't like it. Why? Well, when Foley was down, Lita interfered. She once again tried playing it casual, and Edge had the match won after blasting Cena with the title. Foley struggled to enter the ring because he was a bit dizzy, but once he did, Cena kicked out at 2. Edge then made the mistake of going for a crossbody as Cena caught him and connected with the FU to retain the title. So he blamed Foley for the loss, and due to this, he speared him, and that's a story for another day. Meanwhile, there was an ongoing tournament to determine John Cena's opponent for WrestleMania 22. 3 men managed to make it to the final. Big Show and Triple H made it after a draw, and it was Triple H, RVD, and the Big Show. By the looks of it, the crowd was certainly rooting for RVD, and it would have been a weird main event, but his crowning moment was delayed as Triple H managed to catch him off guard with a pedigree to punch his ticket to WrestleMania. Right then, John Cena decided to pay his WrestleMania opponent a visit. Now, looking back, this match was hyped and teased for months. Other than this segment, Cena and Triple H never interacted at all, except for this backstage segment. I don't think they even mentioned each other by name beforehand, like in a promo, John Cena and Triple H. I don't think they even did that. So fans were certainly excited to see them face off. Also, for context, the story of this one, the de facto story of the main event, was old school versus new school. The guy that knows how to wrestle versus the hack who can't even structure a scientific wrestling match. That's what it seemed like in my eyes. They were trying to say, like, John Cena, he ain't good. Like, he wasn't exactly a good wrestler at this point, and he was just described as a brawler. And this match and storyline was going to be a test to see if he's a success. The following week, Triple H and John Cena went face-to-face. At this point, the game had gained some good faith from the fans, not all of them, but some. This segment was initially an interview, but Coach set Cena up in order for him to confront Triple H. He asked Cena sarcastically if he, the champ, thinks he could beat him the game. Cena believed it was too forward of a question, and he sort of beat around the bush. He said that Triple H probably didn't look twice in his direction 4 years earlier, but now he's going to get the chance to face him at WrestleMania 22 for the WWE Championship. Cena admitted that he didn't have his resume, like the game's resume. He doesn't have that same respect from the fans. The only thing he's got is this, the title. Triple H's response, he apologized for not being scared of a man whose one move is pumping up his Reeboks. Damn, he seriously had to go there. He also called Cena a transitional champion, and sure, Cena's tough. He's like Rocky Balboa. He's got passion, heart, desire, and dedication, and despite not being a very good wrestler, he always finds a way to win. He let Cena know that Rocky may have beat the bad guys in the movie, but here, that isn't the case. The champ then took a jab at Triple H, saying that he won a bet over what he, the game, has to say. Not because he's repetitive, although that might be the case too, because everyone that preceded Triple H said the same thing. He asked the challenger, what makes you so different? Triple H tried to get Cena to spill the truth and admit that he, Triple H, isn't like most guys. Cena did admit he isn't the company's best athlete. Triple H, yeah, sure, he's a 10-time champion, but despite this, he ain't afraid of Triple H, simply put. And on that list of guys that the game went through, there's one name that isn't on there, and that's going to remain the same. And that's John Cena, and that's a fact. All of a sudden, Vince interrupted and he booked both men in a tag team match for Saturday night's main event against the SmackDown main event. Randy Orton, Kurt Angle, and Rey Mysterio. So, it's a handicap match. This announcement caught both men off guard, and it was definitely going to be a struggle to go through with that match. Beforehand, however, both men were set to sign the contract for their impending bout at WrestleMania. Like I said earlier, the hate for Cena was starting to increase gradually, while the hate for Triple H was slowly diminishing. It wasn't like everyone became a Triple H fan overnight. It was just a lesser evil type situation, like Cena or Triple H. The fans choose Triple H because, maybe it's because he knows how to wrestle, because Cena's basic, I'm not sure. Maybe it's a bit of both. Triple H praised Cena's performance the previous week and how he FU'd the Big Show. But he wasn't worried. Why? Because he believed everything was a formality, a foregone conclusion that the WWE Championship comes back home. The game then signed that contract for the match, and all that was left was John Cena's signature, but before I could finish saying those words, he already signed. The game then continued his lecture and admitted that whenever both parties signed, he brings out a sledgehammer. But this time around, he isn't doing that. Why? Because Cena was already at a big enough disadvantage. The champ finally responded. He laughed all of this off before stating that if Triple H did go through with it, he would have taken that hammer and stuck it straight up his ass. Then all of a sudden, Big Show and Kane interrupted. For context, it was because they lost their respective matches to both men. All of a sudden, Triple H brought out the sledgehammer, proving that what he said earlier was essentially a lie. Before we knew it, though, Chris Masters and Carlito attacked the tag champions, so Vince booked a 6-man tag team match. Triple H, Carlito, and Chris Masters versus John Cena, Kane, and The Big Show. As for how that went, those two bastards brought in chairs to cause a DQ. Big Show and Kane went after them, and this left John Cena alone in the ring. The game realized this was his chance to fight the champ, but before he could, freaking Randy Orton, a SmackDown star, comes from out of the crowd, RKO's John Cena, and leaves. Triple H enjoyed seeing his enemy down on the mat. The Saturday night's main event, both teams were quite reluctant to team with one another, and their egos were too big enough to allow the match to conclude in non-controversial fashion. It seemed like Orton and Triple H were kind of buddies. Angle was RKO'd by his own damn teammate, and despite receiving a pedigree from his own teammate, Cena rolled up Orton to win the match, and Triple H's reaction, well, here it is. He's like, damn it, again. Basically, story of this one, Triple H wanted Cena down, but his wishes didn't come true, and instead, Cena looked stronger than before. Heading into the event, both men went through some rigorous training in order to prepare for the match. From John Cena's perspective, it seemed like Cena's final test. Like, sure, he's the champion, but he's yet to face the game. And if he beats the game, it means he succeeded. He wasn't relying on his wrestling skills because that will get him nowhere. But he's going to rely on fighting his way to victory. He's resilient and ready to go. As for Triple H, he believed he was the standard bearer, the measuring stick of what a true main eventer was. He's been to the main event of WrestleMania before, and he's been there, done that. And while Cena's talented, he's got way more experience than him. His heart is black. He has no remorse, and he's going to take that title. That's what I took away from this feud. Now, the commentary team's perspective of this was street versus high class, I guess. Basically, Cena's never one to receive the highest level of education, training facilities, or any of that kind of stuff. He had to work from the bottom to get where he was, while Triple H was one to receive everything and get everything he ever wanted in life. And the match against Cena basically is going to be a walk in the park. It wasn't like he was trying to undermine Cena. He just certainly believed he was miles better than him. As for the match itself, first of all, both men had a special entrance. Triple H debuted the King of Kings song. He had this entrance that lasted for like 5 minutes. Cena, he represented the classic mobsters, gangsters of Chicago. There was this guy, which you definitely already know that. Cena brought out a Tommy gun, And the match, it relied heavily on the crowd. It felt different to other WrestleMania main events. Like, say this match happened elsewhere, I don't think it would have been as good as it was. I don't know. That's what it feels like to me. That's not to say I dislike the match. It's actually one of my favorite WrestleMania matches ever. Why? Well, this was the first DVD I ever purchased. Second, the story. Triple H was out to discipline John Cena. He was teaching them the basics of wrestling. The fans despised the champion and loved Triple H, which was funny to see. And even JR was kind of on the game side. As a result of this not-so-nice reception, Cena stepped up, but despite his efforts, Triple H managed to slow down the pace, and he somewhat embraced this newfound adulation. The fans even cheered when Triple H brought out a sledgehammer and used it against the good guy, John Cena. Both men kicked out of their respective moves, and when that wasn't enough, Cena tried a crossbody that didn't connect. Triple H tried the pedigree, but that wasn't to be, as he found himself locked in the STFU. The fans were waiting for that moment the game escapes, but it never happened. Instead, he tapped out. The fans were freaking shocked. Cena completely silenced them, and they didn't boo. That's how shocked they were. Now, why was this so unexpected? Well, I did some digging, and it turns out Triple H was actually supposed to win the title. Rumor has it, keyword rumor has it, because Cena wasn't really connecting with the fans as well as they hoped he was. The fans were certainly clamoring for that Triple H victory. They were begging for a Cena heel turn, but it didn't happen. So when Triple H tapped out, it caught them very, and I mean very off guard. Not everyone, once again. Some people believed Cena was going to win, but that's what many thought. The next night on Raw, John Cena came out to address the events of WrestleMania 22. Most of the fans booed while he had this little grin on his face. He then shouted out that the champ is still here, taking a slight jab at the haters. He was speaking about how capturing this and defending it night in and night out means you rise to the occasion. Then Triple H interrupted. "You tapped out" chants intensified, and he put his hand out there for a handshake before leaving Cena hanging there. The game admitted his wrongdoing, stating that he tapped out because he underestimated the champ, but he promised that it will never happen again, and he straight up asked for another title shot. All of a sudden, Edge interrupted. He straight up told Hunter that he should hop to the back of the line, and someone else should take his spot. Someone that actually won at WrestleMania, He also said that he's undefeated at WrestleMania, to which Triple H responded asking, well, how many of those matches were main events? He then suggested Edge hang out with the other curtain jerkers while the main event guys handle their business. Edge's response, he said that he's a main eventer and he doesn't need to dress like Conan the Barbarian. He also brought up the victory against John Cena, to which Triple H responded stating that he took a nap and missed the entire thing. Edge then made fun of the game tapping out. Triple H suggested knocking down his teeth tonight, and Cena meanwhile tried booking a one-on-one number one contenders match between those two. The Rated R Superstar refused to compete, citing his injuries, but he did want to team up with Triple H though to face Cena's bling bling ass. The game liked this idea, while the champ, he teased walking out on the challengers before accepting the match. Due to the match later that night, it resulted in 2 other matches featuring 3 of those guys. Cena was the first man with a disadvantage as he lost to Triple H and Edge on this night. After the first handicap match, it was confirmed that Cena will defend the title at Backlash against both Edge and Triple H. The second handicap match saw Edge face both Cena and Triple H, but this time around, the champ returned the favor to Triple H before forcing Edge to tap out to the STFU. The final match saw Edge and Cena team up, and this time around, it was Edge who beat Triple H clean in the middle of the ring, and I believe this was the first time Edge ever pinned the game. So at this point, every single one of them had a victory under their belt. But before they clashed at Backlash, they were forced to face the Spear Squad. Triple H and Cena worked in unity, but then it erupted later on. Edge and Lita watched on with a smile on their faces as Raw went off the air. Now, the match at Backlash, sublime. It was as violent as expected, and I already covered the entire match in this video. But long story short, it was dramatic, bloody, entertaining. There was always some kind of action, and if you've never watched it, I certainly believe you'll enjoy it. Hell, if you already watched it a while ago, you'll still like it. Anyways, the game brought in a sledgehammer. He runs into a spear, and it's Edge who grabs it. Cena hoists him on his shoulders, but Triple H is there with a low blow. He attempts the pedigree, but it's not to be, and he ends up losing. Right then, Triple H, like a sore loser, destroys everyone in sight before doing the DX crotch chop. Following this, Cena didn't really have that much competition. Triple H was still there, though, but he wasn't much of a threat, and after that Texas Tornado title match, which Triple H failed to win, nobody knocked on Cena's door. That is until a certain someone knocked, scratched that, kicked his door. On the May 22nd, 2006 episode of Raw, John Cena just finished dealing with Chris Masters when Rob Van Dam interrupted. The crowd was weirdly enough quiet. I don't understand why. I believe it was because they seen RVD earlier. And Van Dam then informed the champ that he's got a title shot. It was known that RVD's got a briefcase and all that stuff, but what was unknown was when he cashes in, the date. He said that if he was to cash in here, then he'd probably be screwed over by the system. Instead, he's going to cash in at the one place where he's very comfortable. A place where the conditions work extremely well in his favor. June 11th at 1 night stand. Cena was shook, and RVD, he was right. You know why? Well, throughout the years, RVD, whenever he received a title shot, he never outright lost clean, I believe. One time, Ric Flair screwed him over. And the fact that he was a ECW star, well, that wasn't going to sit well with the company. And they think of screwing him over, basically, in storyline, I guess. They went nose to nose and it was on. Left and rights all over the place. And in the end, after Chris Masters distracted him, Cena received a briefcase Fandaminator. The fans booed him, which is once again funny to see. Jerry Lawler was perplexed at the fact that RVD can just make the match happen at ECW One Night Stand. Now, at this point, RVD had yet to win a world championship, neither in ECW or WWE. Many considered him to be the greatest wrestler to not win a world championship. Is that a fact at the time? Subjective. Also, a few or many hated Cena so damn much. The only reason they were watching was because the possibility of him losing the title or turning heel, and they sort of indicated he would in the build-up. I mean, he was rougher on the mic and in the ring. On the June 5th, 2006 episode of Raw, both John Cena and Rob Van Dam were set to sign the contract for their matchup at ECW One Night Stand. Throughout the segment, RVD was showboating, and he informed Cena that it's 6 days till that title is around his waist, and it's going to be renamed the ECW World Title. He was hoping that Cena was prepared to face the very best RVD, and he notified Cena that when he signs that contract, he's going to walk into a rabid fan base that cannot wait to boo him right out the freaking door. Heyman said this too, and a couple of other things about ECW's passionate fan base, and as for Cena, it was all nothing to him. He called himself an ECW original fan. He had the utmost respect for what ECW did to the industry. And as for RVD, Cena wasn't scared of those rabid fans, and he certainly wasn't scared of him. He said that he fears nothing and regrets less, and sure, he's been booed, but it doesn't really do much in the grand scheme of things. Cena concluded this statement saying that his target is Rob Van Dam. They shook hands when Heyman showed his shady side. He informed Cena that his first taste of ECW occurs right now. It's just a sample. And out came Balls, Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, Terry Funk, all those guys came out. And Cena didn't really care. He laughed it off and he said that if he was going to go down, he's going to go down fighting. Obviously, he got his ass kicked and it's clear. Sabu even came out and he drove a steel chair right onto Cena, who was sitting on a table. The Raw guys then ran in there, but the damage was already done. Heading into the event, Cena discussed his title match. He said that this title has been held by many legends, and if he loses, it's gone. It's rechristened the ECW Championship. But if he wins, he'll be recognized as the biggest GOAT. As for the fans, the ECW ones, he said that they're the most ruthless, aggressive fan base there is, and sure, he could stand here and complain, or he can do what he's gonna do, which is put his head down and fight like a man. He shouted at Sabu that he's officially pissed off the raw, fire-breathing SOB. He then proceeded to kick his ass, but not before receiving some punishment himself. Sabu, though, he was FU'd and he almost tapped out, but Big Show and a bunch of guys, Raw, SmackDown, ECW, interfered. As for the match at ECW One Night Stand, for me, my favorite John Cena match up to this point. Not necessarily because of the action, that goes to Judgment Day 2005, but the entire atmosphere, the feeling. RVD was loved and adored by the ECW fans. There was this thing that was funny as hell to me as a kid. I don't know why. And the fact that John Cena was practically the Antichrist. Right when they heard the music, they were like, this little bastard, he just didn't fit the ECW image. And initially, he ignored the hate. It made for a legendary image, as you can see here. That sign in itself is one of the best we ever seen. Because if RVD lost, who knows, maybe they would have rioted. And Cena, they just gave him a hard time every chance they could get. He throws his t-shirt, it's back in there. He just wanted the shirt away, and he was patiently waiting for someone to take it, and then this guy. I mean, seriously, they should have brought this guy in the ring. He really showed the most hate for Cena, and RVD relished all of this. They threw toilet paper, FU, Cena chants intensified. And throughout the match, Cena tried his damnedest to piss off the ECW faithful. He used that sign to precisely aim at RVD, and slowly he worked as the outright heel. RVD himself sacrificed his body in order to get the W, but this guy, he just couldn't be stopped. Cena continued to stick it to the fans, hitting a 5-knuckle shuffle. He posed, and nothing that he could do that night could elicit a positive reaction, nothing. Near the end, Cena began to silence the rabid crowd, and it seemed like he had it wrapped up. He FU'd RVD right out of the ring when an unknown man speared him through the table. It was then revealed to be Edge. The fans chanted, "Thank you, Edge," and this was the same man that was calling them some not so nice things. He was calling them virgins, he's calling them internet nerds and a bunch of stuff, but for this one, they're like, thank you, Edge. RVD was unaware of what went on, and he went up top, boom, 5-star frog splash. The ref didn't wake up, so Paul Heyman took advantage of the ECW rule and counted the pinfall himself. 1, 2, 3. Finally. Honestly, this is a perfect match. It's not the action that makes it special. It's the rabid crowd wanting Cena's head. They threw toilet paper at him, his own shirt, and the only thing that was missing was a pig's head. The situation, in itself also makes it special. RVD never won the title, but this night, the night full of wild moments, is when RVD is finally crowned WWE Champion. That's what makes it the perfect match in my eyes. It seemed like Christmas for the ECW brand, and it may have been bittersweet for little me at the time to see all this because Cena was my favorite. But right now, I can acknowledge this as one of the best damn moments of that era. It had a special feeling all around, and I can't stress it enough. If you've never watched it before, what the hell are you waiting for, man? I watched it a million times, and it still gets the same feeling out of me. Yeah, that's what I gotta say about this match. It's probably my favorite match during this title reign because of the atmosphere, the situation, everything. So yeah. Okay, if you guys want RVD's title reign, check out this video. It ain't as well written as this one. It ain't as detailed as this one, but RVD's title reign didn't even last a month. There wasn't much that happened in order for me to make a long video about it. Apologies for that one. But yeah, check it out if you never did. You might like it. As for John Cena's title reign, this one, matches weren't bad, but the fans really hated him. That's what I gotta say. I don't know how to grade it as a title reign. It's weird. But it really established him as the top guy in the company because of the Triple H thing. And the next title reign itself, the third one, I will make it eventually. I will talk about the end of his feud with Edge, the Kevin Federline thing, which I was really going to make a video about it separate, but I didn't. The Umaga thing, Shawn Michaels, Great Khali, Bobby Lashley, all that stuff. I want to make all that stuff in one video, so expect it sometime, hopefully. I just got to find the right time to make it. That's all I got to say. I don't want them to be separate videos. I want them to be all in one. What do you guys think of John Cena's title reign? Please comment down below. That's your first video. Make sure you hit an FU on the like button and perhaps the STFU on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.